Golair, and welcome to the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, slicing into the GAA of the past, present and future. Join me, Jason Keelan, as we cut into the largest loaf of bread known to mankind.
Hello, Diegwich, bonjour, ni hao, konnichiwa, guten tag and privyet to you all wherever you're listening in. What started as a message to 10 clubs has now expanded to more than 50 clubs globally from all continents. The journey through Loaf 2 GAA Global continues this week as we move on to our next destination in the GAA world. So come with me on the GAA journey of a lifetime and meet clubs from Canada to Argentina, South Africa to Gibraltar, Bermuda to the North Pole, New Zealand to Kuwait, Knoxville to Qatar, and literally everywhere in between. So grab the passports, grab the bags, it's time to go.
On Slice 31, I fly from China to the east of the USA and the state of Tennessee, where, live from the Brewery, Ben and Adam bring us through the life and the crack at Knoxville Hurling Club. I find out all about the Keep Knoxville Scruffy motto, witnessing the Joe Cannon goal against Kilkenny in Croke Park, why Adam has a son called Ronan, having Offaly and Wexford lads at the club, and making the vital choices like Wendy's or Supermacs, Randy Orton or Sheamus, Mountain Dew or 7-Up, and of course we mentioned the local Jackass himself, Johnny Knoxville. But first as usual, let's check out the well-known city of Knoxville and see what it has to offer. Bon Sultas. As I arrive into beautiful Tennessee, I'm greeted with the sounds of a Kenny Chesney song on the piano. Kenny is a local man, hailing from the city of Knoxville, who has recorded more than 20 albums containing more than 40 top 10 hits in the US and beyond in his beautiful country music style. Knoxville is a city of just about 190,000 people in the eastern part of the state of Tennessee. For those who don't want to Google Map, we're on the southeastern region of the US today, surrounded by states like Virginia, Kentucky, Georgia, Mississippi and others. Nashville is the state capital, a city best known as the home of country music, the home of former President Jackson, and musicians like the Cyrus family, Lady Antebellum, and the birthplace of the well-known NFL coach of the Patriots, Bill Belichick. Tennessee as a name comes from the famous Cherokee native settlers and their area called Tennessee. When the Europeans rocked up in the 16th century, a Spaniard named Juan Pardo is said to have recorded the area as Tenaski. At the time thereafter, more than a quarter of the Europeans were Scots-Irish. These, along with the others, formed the Watauga Association in 1772 and created basically their own form of government. Sadly, less than a century later, many of the Cherokee people, along with the more than 2,000 slaves, will be forced to march from the lands to Oklahoma, 8,115 kilometers away, across 9 states, in an event in history which will go down as Nunna Dal in Sui, the trail where we cried, or the Trail of Tears as we know it. After the years of civil war, the state of Tennessee, like many, began rebuilding in the period known as Reconstruction. Sadly, one aspect of the period that came about was the foundation of the now infamous Ku Klux Klan in the state in 1865. But the Reconstruction period aimed to put the state as a prospering region for others to model on. The building of a model Parthenon in Nashville showed this, creating the nickname Athens of the South as a result. But despite major events like the worst train crash in US history in Nashville in 1918, the Great Depression of '29, 2 world wars, a Vietnam War, Korean War, the assassination of Martin Luther King in Memphis, natural disasters and others, the state continues to be one with big industrial progressions and employment possibilities in many areas, such as electronics, automotives, agriculture and food. The state has created many famous names in life, from the iconic and often mythical Davy Crockett, to the teenage years and onwards of one Elvis Aaron Presley, from the musical goddesses of Aretha Franklin and Dolly Parton, to icon Justin Timberlake and the Everly Brothers. Screen names like Kathy Bates, Quentin Tarantino, Megan Fox, DJ Qualls, right through to wrestling names like Ric Flair and Randy Orton. And of course, this iconic voice.
There are those of us who like to venture to the unexplored, to see the beauty in the strange and unknown. Those of us who go out there with a sense of wonder.
The city of Knoxville was the state's first capital back in 1786, and like many cities in the US at the time, needed the intro of the railroad some half-century or so later to bring prosperity and progress to the city. In an area which relied on industry, the depression that began in the early days in September 1929 caused the city of Knoxville to suffer terribly. Poor leaders and party politics left the people with little quality of living for several years. But the city didn't descend into the sort of chaos seen several centuries before, when the local Gazette papers had regular accounts of murder and hostility towards the Cherokee people. Ironically, one of the biggest negatives labelled against the town at the time was the presence of multiple drinking establishments, but no church. For many, including us Irish, it probably doesn't seem like a big negative at all. Over the years, the decline became more noticeable, but the city people didn't give in, and after many projects, they found a revitalisation in the 1982 World's Fair.
On the home stretch, next stop, the Knoxville World's Fair and its fabulous Sunsphere.
This project was a gathering of more than 11 million people to the city under the theme of energy, given that the US Science Centre at Oak Ridge was in the state, the same Oak Ridge that was involved in the design of the first A-bombs. Skeptics were rife, including the Wall Street Journal, who labelled the city as Scruffy, something ironically the lads will mention in a bit. Essentially, it became a showcase of the nations of the world as more than 25 highlighted the greatness of their own country. The fair also featured some new innovations in the world, such as the idea of touchscreen, paying at the pump for diesel, and the first cherry cola flavoured Coca-Cola drink. Today, if you visit the Holiday Inn near the site, you will see a lasting legacy of the fair left by the Hungarians, the world's largest Rubik's Cube, a symbol of their country's history. The iconic Sunsphere will be familiar to many, especially Simpsons fans, as you may have heard. This 81-metre spire with its golden ball on top was given high acclaim when it was completed in 1982 for the fair. It remains today as a lasting memory. A name I guess I should mention, as so many Irish should be familiar with, is Philip John Clapp, better known as this guy.
Hi, I'm Johnny Knoxville. Welcome to Jackass.
Johnny Knoxville shot to fame in 2000 with the introduction of the world to the famous Jackass, an idea born from testing safety equipment, which was noticed by the director Jeff Tremaine, who went on to do Jackass himself. With the likes of the famous Steve-O, Chris Pontius, Bam Margera, Ryan Dunn and Jason Acuna, better known as Wee Man. They went on to success with the show globally. On the sporting side, the state's best known teams are perhaps the NFL side, the Tennessee Titans, NBA stars, the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Nashville Predators of the NHL. The Titans actually spent longer as the Houston Oilers in Texas, named by their founder Bud Adams, but moved to the state of Tennessee in '97 to become the Oilers. It was in '99 they became the Titans. The team sadly has no Super Bowl wins to date. Their most famous player ever is arguably quarterback Steve McNair, known as Air McNair, who died tragically in 2009. The Grizzlies of Memphis have been so since 2001. Before that they were the Vancouver Grizzlies. They also have no championships to date. And the ice hockey stars of the Predators also have yet to taste final victory, but are very much in their early days, having only been founded in 1998. I'll let the guys tell us all about Knoxville Hurling Club, which began in 2016, as it's better to hear from them. But safe to say, these guys are the real deal, and their passion for hurling and its ethos is as passionate as anybody's in Ireland. And remember when I mentioned history bashing the area for having no church and too many pubs? Well, let's go over to the local legends Adam and Ben themselves to hear all about Knoxville hurling live from the brewery. How are you? Who am I talking to?
Doing well. Yeah, man. Ben. My name's Ben. This is Adam.
Ben and Adam. Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. Man. How are you doing?
Yeah, not so bad, yes. How was all in Knoxville?
Doing pretty good. Can't complain. Yeah. Weather's good.
Yeah. You guys have set yourselves up in the most Irish position imaginable, right in front of a set of bar taps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Adam's a head brewer, one of the best little microbreweries in Knoxville. So here we are.
Okay. Sounds good. Yeah. Is brewing a big thing out in Tennessee?
Yeah, it picked up, especially in East Tennessee and Knoxville in the last 5 or 6 years. It definitely
we're probably up to about 25 or so breweries. Fairly, I don't know, mid-sized, small southern town. It's a pretty good amount.
Do you guys consider Knoxville as a small town then?
A little bit. I mean, what do we have? 180,000.
Yeah.
So nothing like Nashville. Definitely not a village or anything, but I mean, it still has kind of a small town feel. It's kind of, as far as its geography, it's kind of spread out. It's very linear. So it takes like 30 minutes to get across town, maybe 45, depending on how bad traffic is. So, little pockets, little communities. Definitely have their own feel.
It's one of the states I've not been to. Tennessee. I've been to about half of the American states roughly, and it's not one I've been to yet. But I do plan on going there. I was kind of there's a lot of states that I hit that I wasn't ever expecting to ever get to in my life, like, you know, Utah, Wyoming, South Dakota, North Dakota. So yeah, Tennessee is definitely on my list after seeing the potential of all the states. I'm definitely going back again as soon as I can. So, well, what's good to do in Knoxville then?
Aside from drink, there's a few things. Knoxville's kind of like the gateway. There's a lot of stuff like within about an hour's drive of Knoxville you can really do if you want to do some outdoor stuff. You've got some state parks that are local, and then you've got some national parks. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park's about an hour and 15 minutes away, give or take. So a lot of hiking and then some really good views if you're into that. And if you wanted to go south, if you're into water sports, if you want to do some kayaking or some whitewater rafting down on the Ocoee, is, like I said, about an hour and a half south. So East Tennessee's definitely got the Tennessee's very different. It's broken up to like 3 grand regions. So basically West Tennessee is all like flat delta, very different feel. Middle Tennessee is like the plateau and where Nashville is, and it has its own feel, big city. And then East Tennessee, a lot more rural, mountainous, a lot more space between people, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, it's like where Southern America meets Appalachian American, so there's a cool building of culture there. We also have like the urban wilderness, which is I think like 50 miles of hiking trails, just basically within the city limits, kind of. And there's like mountain bike. I think we're becoming like a fairly regional destination for like mountain biking. And then like Knoxville has a cool downtown. It's real walkable. There's like a market square. It's kind of the heartbeat of the whole town, and there's some cool kind of branches, veins off of there. So eat, drink, and do some outdoor activities, find some concerts, I guess.
Yeah, it sounds like you've just basically described my wife's dream town, essentially, there, whatever you just said, or dream state anyway. So, yeah.
Well, come down and we'll host you. We'll we'll show you all the good stuff.
I feel like going out up there somehow, yeah.
I've been over to Ireland once, spent about 10 days driving around most of the lower counties, and there's a lot that was familiar. A lot of green, a lot of mountainous, and a lot of farming and kind of small town feel. So East Tennessee definitely kind of has that feel to it.
Okay, so add Tennessee to my list then for sure, yeah. And how did I see you've got Ben, you've got your T-shirt on. How did Knoxville Hurling come about?
Yeah, so in college, I went to West Virginia University, and there was some Irish lads who came over to study in my program. One was from County Offaly, one was from Wexford, and a couple years after I graduated in 2015, my wife and I went to Ireland for 2 weeks, and I met up with my buddy Colm in Dublin. And he took me, one of the things he wanted to do was take me to Croke Park.
Yeah.
And I watched, it was Kilkenny and Galway. It was like one of the semifinals that year. Okay. I'd never been exposed to hurling at all. He took me to the match. It's packed out. We're sitting in the Galway section. And from the get-go, I was like super intrigued. And at one point, Joe Canning, there's a ball struck like 80 yards. He turns over his back. You've probably seen it. He turns over his shoulder, catches it, 180s, and just rips a goal. And really, from that moment on, I was like, this is incredible. So we left there. I was blown away. He took me to the park. We started pucking around. He sent me home with a hurl, crammed it into my backpack on the airplane, and I said, man, this is awesome. I was like, I got to see, do they play this in America? I had no idea. I mean, turns out they've been playing it for years, right? But I started getting on the internet, and I found that Nashville had a club. So I'm looking on there, and they had a bracket from a tournament. I guess it would have been earlier that year, 2015. And I saw Knoxville kind of written in on the bracket. And I said, what in the world? So I reached out. Turns out there was an Army Reserve unit that was, based in Knoxville, and the chief, Pat Harville, he had found the sport in Atlanta. And so the Army Reserve unit started training once a month using hurling as part of their PT to kind of get in shape and have fun doing it. So I just jumped in. I said, hey, can I get involved? They said yes. And then long story short, that unit disbanded a couple years ago. And we kind of just built the club back up with civilians and kind of took what they had kind of initiated and organized it and registered and all that. So.
Wow. Are you guys all American then now, or have you got any Irish or anyone else on board?
Yeah, we have 2 Irish. We have a guy named Andrew Ledwith from County Mead, and then
I don't like him. Don't like him.
Yeah, he's actually one of the nicest people I've ever met.
Okay.
Him and Inda's from Kildare. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. We'll accept him.
I do think we're somewhat unique in that sense that we were started by purely Americans, and we're driven predominantly by Americans. I mean, the 2 Irish guys we have contributed significantly, but also this is really much a grassroots kind of initiative from sprouting up here in East Tennessee. So
that's brilliant. Yeah. And what's your numbers like at the moment then, Adam?
Obviously, COVID affected us pretty hard.
Yeah.
Right before the shutdown last year, we were probably on weekend trainings. We were probably around high 20s, low 30s, which is really good. We've been building on the success we had in 2019. We'd gone 15-1 for 2019, won about 4 tournaments, won the state tournament.
Wow.
So we had some success, and so we were building up to it. And then obviously the world stopped moving in March of last year for everybody. So kind of rebuilding, getting back on the horse in March of this year, wasn't it? We kind of got back to it. So we built back up pretty quickly. Still had a lot of new folks, and we lost some the newer folks that we had gained the year prior. But I want to say we're still high 20s, low 30s on good days. So we've got a pub league. So Team Alliance versus Team Jig and Reel. So my brewery here versus the Scottish bar in town.
Nice.
But we got some nice kit for that, and we just split into 2 and try not to kick the living hell out of each other.
Yeah. Well, that's always part of it, though.
Yeah, I mean, it's about once a month, maybe twice a month, depending on how the tournament schedule lays out. So we've got a match, the public match Sunday. So get back on the horse.
So what kind of position do you play after? Sorry.
What do I play? Bench coach, beer provider, and third keeper if possible. Sometimes fullback if things are dire.
I was going to ask, because like you have, if people can't see it, I put up the picture. You have the most like outstanding beard, and you just look like a man that should be playing fullback.
Yeah, it's hilarious. It always squishes out from the damage pad. It looks ridiculous, but it's fine.
Yeah, have you been to Ireland then yourself, or?
I went 2007.
Okay.
It's been about 10, 11 days. It was pretty fun, aside from the hangovers, but
that's part of visiting the country.
Oh man,
yeah,
a lot of good pictures. I went with my brother and my wife. It was actually we made a holdover. We flew into England and then went to Cardiff to meet up with my former rugby team. They were on tour in Wales, so met up with them and then played a match and then drank myself silly in Wales for 2 days. Then we caught a plane, then caught the ferry. Not the ferry, I guess it's the ferry. It's like a hydrofoil ferry from North Wales over to Dublin.
Yeah.
That was rough, especially horribly hungover. But I was green. And anyway, then we rented a car the second night out of Dublin, and then drove all over for about 10 days, and then came back to Dublin and somehow found our way home. But it was a lot of fun. And, nothing was really going on. We did catch a very small amount. There was some like secondary school hurling going on.
Yeah.
As we were driving through one of the small towns. We just pulled over and got out and stood against a rock wall and watched them. So I knew what was going on because being a rugby player for so long, the only way we could watch it in the States was with Setanta.
Yeah.
And so it was always international and European rugby, and then it was always GAA. So I knew what it all was. I just never seen it live before. So I was pretty excited to find out that Knoxville had a hurling team. I kind of semi-retired from rugby years ago when the family got started and the kids were small. It was just too much to travel, especially being in the Southeast. We're really spread out. So it takes a lot of time and commitment to go play, an 80-minute match. Drive from Knoxville to Little Rock, Arkansas for 80 minutes kind of isn't worth it. Waste of the weekend. So.
Well, how did you get into the rugby in the first place? It's not. I know the Eagles and stuff in America have kind of started to grow, and they had Eddie O'Sullivan in charge at one point as well. But how did you get into it yourself?
So it's been in the colleges and universities for quite a long time. So I had seen it prior. I'd watched, I guess, some of the '95 World Cup and knew what was going on there. And then in college, it was around '97 is when I started playing. I saw that UT had a team. Had a rugby team. They also had lacrosse and a couple other things, but rugby suited me a little bit better. I was in pretty good shape, so went ahead and tried out for that, and then played a couple years at university, and then started playing men's league after that. So played for the Knoxville team and played for the Charleston, South Carolina team, and I lived there for a couple of years.
And you weren't spotted by the American senior team?
No, I was not on any national pathways, that's for sure.
Okay, yeah,
I started late. Yeah, I think I was about 20 when I first knew what was going on, and it's a rough sport. So even though I'm 6'4", about 220, I don't want to tackle any 20-year-old running at me full speed anymore. So I need to get out and run around a little bit. So that's when I realized hurling was going to offer team sport that I needed, and then also the reason to get off my ass. And I mean, I'm probably still going to drink too many beers, but at least I'll get out and run around a little bit and have some fun.
Well, 6'4" and 220, if you stood on a hurling pitch here in Ireland, there's not many people who'd run at you. So,
well, I can't run away from anybody. Too damn slow nowadays. I turned 45 this year, so I wish I would have found it earlier.
Yeah, fair enough. That's good. Yeah. Do you guys, Ben? I ask every club, have you got any issues with getting a pitch to play on? Because a lot of teams have so many hassles with local councils, local whatever it is they've got to deal with. How do you guys fare out?
Yeah, Knoxville's been very supportive. Now, we don't have any pitches that are regulation size.
Yeah.
In the USGA, we play 13 a side, and the pitch is smaller, but it's still substantially bigger than an American softball or soccer or even a football field. So we play on soccer pitches. And like I said, we've got a great relationship with the city. There's kind of an old rugby pitch. Do a lot of our pub league games there. And then we host a tournament at a nice little soccer complex here in town along the river and everything. The annual Scruffy City Invitational.
Great name.
Yeah, it's kind of a moniker that Knoxville has garnered through the years. Keep Knoxville Scruffy is one of our taglines.
Okay.
So Adam's beard goes a long ways towards that. But no, we do well in that. Sometimes we have to play a little bit lower numbers. We may play 9s or 11s. Our last pub league game, we played 12, but when we have an official USGA tournament, we try to play 13. Just sometimes it's a little cramped out there.
Okay. And what's the local pub scene like then, dare I ask?
Oh, man. You talking about the hangouts?
Well, in general, yeah. Have you got a lot of teams have a local sponsor pub? I'm kind of guessing you might have one.
Yeah, it's actually really cool. We've partnered as an organization, our Knoxville Gaelic Athletic Club. We've partnered with Boyd's Jig and Reel. It's kind of a Celtic Scottish music pub in what's called the Old City, one of the older parts of downtown. And then we're also one of our pub league teams is sponsored by Boyd's Jig and Reel, and the other is sponsored by Alliance Brewing Company. And it's a great kind of micro brewery here in South Knoxville. And they've kind of tried to develop a culture around active beer culture. So that really kind of synergizes with our club. We're just trying to use hurling, the pub after as a way to stay healthy, but also develop, meaningful friendships and relationships. We know that I think the teammate relationship's one of the most unique and special relationships. And in America, you really have that growing up. You have that through, what we call high school, but you lose a lot of that in adulthood. And so that's one of the things I love about hurling is it provides that competitive realm, but also an ability to still have teammates and be part of a team. And so I think there's a synergy between what our clubs are doing and also some of those local pubs. And one of our values in the club is rootedness. So we want to be rooted in our local community, and part of that's collaborating with whether it's the pubs or different organizations in town. So I think it's a great scene that's really provided a lot of fun and opportunity to get to know people in a kind of a meaningful way.
Yeah, you've sort of, by the sounds of it, you've hit the traditional GAA club right on the head with the community thing, because that is literally what the entire GAA is about. So yeah, you've definitely got that one worked out. I have to ask as well, actually, speaking of community and county and all that, have you guys, since you both been to Ireland, have you adopted a hurling county of choice that you follow?
You're Galway.
Yeah.
All the way for sure.
Yeah, I
Okay.
definitely. I mentioned I got to go to Croke Park and see Galway play. Happened to be working at a high school here in Knoxville. Our colors are maroon and white, so I was like, okay, that kind of jives right there.
Yeah.
And then my wife and I got to spend 2 nights in Galway City and just really enjoyed that. Found some, I guess, trad Irish music down there that just spoke to the soul.
Yeah.
Enjoyed those kind of walkable pebble streets they have down there in Galway City. So, and actually, in addition to that, we had a lad come over I guess it was 2019. David was from County Galway. He played some senior level, and he was studying at UT, getting a master's degree. And so he ended up putting a transfer in and registering with our club. And
yeah, he was here for 6 weeks, and it was pretty cool to have somebody of that caliber to come and help run trainings and show us what they're doing at that level, and then also just picking up on drills, and then just having somebody kind of live that life for a little bit was pretty neat. So it was a real learning experience for us all.
Do you know a second name?
I'm sorry?
You know a second name? Do you remember a second name?
Farrell, wasn't it? David Farrell?
Yeah. Can't remember the spelling. It was
It
was a lot of R's.
Yeah.
I think he was from Crawwell. I think it was his home.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was beautiful. It was cool too. Nashville has an annual tournament, the Music City Invitational, and we went down with him alongside of us, and that was the first time we got over the hump and actually won like a road tournament. So that was a grand day, to go down to Nashville, which draws teams from multiple divisions here in America. And we put out probably the best team we'd put out yet. I mean, we've been around 5 years now, but the quality of hurling relative to us was significant that day. We won our first tournament. He had a lot to do with that. And then he went on back to Ireland, but I think we won 2 or 3 more tournaments that year. So he really helped elevate our standard and some of our awareness of how to train and what it takes to be successful on our level. So, with his attachment to Galway, I'm kind of a Galway man through and through now. So
I like that. Yeah, I was born in Galway. My own county, Westmeath, here is maroon and white as well. So I can take that. Yeah, I'll take that as a good choice. Yeah, Adam, your choice better be just as good now. So,
man, we went through. I can't say I had every county in and that wasn't in Northern Ireland.
Yeah,
most of it was a blur, but I had some good times there. I don't know. I was chatting with my brother. He's come out a few times for some trainings. He's pretty busy, but he definitely loves his genealogy and stuff. So he's traced us back. My last name is Ingle, Ingle. So we've definitely got some Irish and a little Scotch and not all that much English, oddly enough. But I can't remember. He had us down from 2 different counties, and they weren't big hurling counties. I can't remember what they were. I looked them up, and I was like, I don't even know if they have like a county hurling team. So they play football up there. So I guess I just kind of root for a good match mostly, to be honest.
Okay.
If I was going on, so I don't have a whole lot of allegiance.
Well, we could take a 6'4", 220 in Westmeath any day.
Okay.
We've suffered some horrendous. Yeah, we've suffered some horrendous losses in the past couple of weeks. So we'll take you. Age 45, that doesn't matter. It's just a number. Yeah,
Fair enough.
You're an honorary Westmeath man now, definitely. So we'll take that. Yeah.
I'll get my kit sorted out.
Exactly. Yeah, we'll try and sort you out with a kit. Definitely. Yeah, we'll just put fullback number 3 on it. Yeah. No offense to the Westmeath fullback at the moment, but
Excellent.
We've shipped a lot in the past couple of weeks, and we're just looking to stop that basically. So, did either of you find I know Ben, you probably have Joe Canning. Did either of you have a favorite player or had a favorite player in the past couple of years?
Yeah, I suppose Joe Canning's not an original one. There's I imagine a lot of folks in Ireland that can appreciate his level of play, but I think that catch he made in Croke Park that day I was there is probably one of the most unbelievable plays of sport I've just seen. Somebody's appreciated American sports for years, but to be there in person and also the year they won that All-Ireland final, just some of the clutch plays he made down the stretch. I think he had a free right on the sideline, or maybe just a point right off the sideline in the last moments of that. I mean, just unbelievable clutch factor. And I grew up a Michael Jordan fan from basketball. And the thing I always appreciated was his ability to perform under the utmost pressure.
Yeah.
So I've seen that in Joe Canning, just overall skill level he has and dominance. So, I mean, it's hard not to go anywhere beyond Joe Canning there, as unoriginal that may be. But
No, not at all. Yeah, I think we need to make a last dance with Joe Canning now at this stage.
Yeah, hopefully so, yeah. One time I guess – I don't know if it's him or his family has the Canning hurls. I got me one of those one time. It lasted a pretty good while. So my level of play, they say Michael Jordan, it's all about the shoes sometimes. If you get the Michael Jordan shoes, the Joe Canning hurl, it helped. It didn't quite take me to that level, but I was on my way. So
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, Adam, have you a favorite player, or was the hangovers too much?
I try and watch a lot. It's hard to keep up with it, mostly because stuff we get over here, everything's still in Gaelic, so I hardly know what the hell anybody's saying. So I'm basically just trying to keep up with the Schlitter moving around. One person I did watch some things on, I want to say it was, I think BBC did a small program a couple of years ago where they were taking people out of their comfort zones and putting them in different sports. And they were having people switch roles. And,
that was an Irish, AIB. It was a bank here that did it called The Toughest Trade.
What's that?
The Toughest Trade, it was called.
Yeah, something. Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah. I think Lee Chin from Wexford.
Yep.
He went over and came over to the U.S. and was learning how to skate and play professional hockey. And I can't remember who they traded out, and somebody else was learning hurling. Or I guess it was a keeper. Yeah, they sent it was like the Avalanche keeper, somebody from the NHL over to learn how to hurl. And there was one on Gaelic football versus rugby as well, and they had Shane Williams.
Yeah, that's right.
But just seeing him, he was a good sport, and definitely he's a big lad as well. So for him to be, willing to go out and try something new, especially have it all filmed, seemed like he was a pretty good dude. So I guess I'll pull a little bit for him. Whenever I see if Wexford's on, try to keep an eye out for him.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so Lee Chin and Joe Canning, probably two of the greatest modern day players, I would say. Good choices, definitely. So, and then
okay, good.
Yeah, I know I asked you about the pub and sponsorship and stuff. Do you have any other issues with like fundraising and stuff that a lot of clubs are experiencing the past couple of years, struggling to keep funding? Are you lucky enough, or have you got some issues with it?
I'd have to say, give a shout out to the GAA and the, was it the Global Games
Committee?
Yeah, the Games Development Fund. We've been able to secure, I think it was 3 grants annually the past few years. They've got a great program where they allocate some funds from the GAA to the USGA. And so that's been a huge boost. You put in a proposal for different developmental things here in the area.
Yeah.
Grants, submissions, and we've been allocated 3 of those, and that's been a big boost.
Huge help. And
so we have the public sponsors. We also, I have to say, there's an Irish tavern in town called Clancy's Tavern and Whiskey House. They were our first sponsor back in 2016. They supported us before anybody else did, and we kind of look at them as our travel team sponsor, and they actually sponsor our annual tournament every year. Where we have the Clancy Cup is on the line.
Nice.
So have to give them an appreciation shout out there. They boosted us from the very beginning. So we've been fortunate. I mean, we do things fairly low cost. We're able to get people to support us to buy our kits. Then we kind of sell them back to our players, and occasionally we'll do merchant, kind of some team gear, and we'll kind of sell that with a little bit of a markup just to kind of get some, and people understand they're supporting the club and then the movement of GAA in this area. So we've done pretty well. We've always had enough. I mean, we can always use more support, and that is kind of a linear thing. The more support we have, the better we're able to grow. But so far, we've been okay.
I suppose I normally ask it at the end, but since you mentioned it, can people buy your gear and stuff online? Just because I always try and promote, or push people towards the club gear. Can people find it on a particular website, O'Neill's or anywhere?
Yeah, we have an O'Neill's team shop.
Oh, cool.
We're pretty proud of the kit we've got on there right now. We actually have a local sponsor too, the Knox Wire Harnesses. There's some lads in the club that have their own business and they sponsored us, but the kit we got there, it actually has a mountain range on the bottom of the jersey, which is the Smoky Mountains I mentioned earlier. And then across the shoulder blades, you'll get a little bit of a Knoxville skyline on there. And our colors are navy and sky. And so we're a little bit of gray thrown in there. So we're pretty proud of that kit. And you can find that on O'Neill's team shop there, just Knoxville GAC. We went with Gaelic Athletic Club because club is a little bit more of an American language word than association is there. But yeah, Knoxville GAC, O'Neill's is probably the easiest way right now.
Cool. Yeah, sounds good. Do you remember, either of you remember your debut game, your first game?
I certainly do. 2016 in Nashville. I was actually playing with the Army guys at that point. We just had they had gray Army T-shirts on. I had a gray T-shirt with a Tennessee state flag on there. But I had what I remember the most. I took a 65 straight baseball swing, to be honest. The first one I whiffed like all get out, and I didn't even know that I couldn't just lift it at that point. That's how green I was. But to be fair, in that same game, I got another opportunity and put one over the bar from 65, which in retrospect must have been pretty lucky because I struggle to do that now, right? But no, we got demolished. But the last thing I'd say about that day was there's a really cool culture in the Southeast here. Of just, this is all pretty new sport for a lot of these folks. And I remember the teams that day were actually coaching us up, during the match, just trying to grow the sport, trying to take a new team. And that was getting pulverized, but kind of educate us on the game. So it was a humbling but great experience that first day in Nashville for me.
Okay. Should we the same, Adam? Were you there that day? Or?
I started in fall of 2018, so a little bit newer. Really wasn't sure what was going on, and the season was just finishing up, and we had the next matchup was we were hosting our home tournament, so came out and helped set up and everything, and then we had enough people, we actually split into two teams, so I got a couple of matches that day, but I was back there at fullback and needed to lift a ball and try and get it out, and then somebody from Nashville, I guess, came in and ended up just swatting the lad right in the damn head, missed the schlitter. I thought I just murdered somebody, and we were running full speed. Yeah. And it glanced off, and I was like, I probably just decapitated this poor guy. And I asked him if he was all right. He had an Irish accent and kept going, said he was fine. And I was like, oh shit, this is good. So we're all right, we can get along with this. So anyway, trying not to hit anybody else in the head since then, but that was I guess 2018. So
nice.
Trying to do a little better with my follow through.
That sounds like a pretty impressive follow through already. That goes well normally in Ireland, so I wouldn't be too worried about any of that. As long as he said he was fine, even if he didn't say he was fine, I still would have played on anyway. It wouldn't have mattered. So
nothing shattered.
He'd be fine, exactly. Yeah.
No blood, no foul.
Yeah, exactly. What's been I know you guys have been incredibly successful. I didn't really realize how successful you already were. What's been the standout victory in all the championship wins so far? Is there a particular one you've got over a local rival that you're just like extra special?
Yeah, I would say. Yeah, I mean, 2019 was our most successful year in the sense that, the Southeast Division here in America. Now we're all playing Junior C. We have some new teams at Junior D, so relatively it's a lower level, but it's competitive in its own right. I think we're up to like 14 or 15 teams. We have, we've organized a statewide kind of league, Tennessee Hurling League. So that's us, Nashville, Memphis. Of course, there's a couple teams in South Carolina, Florida, North Carolina. And so that was our best year. I think we got second down in Greenville. We won the Nashville tournament. We won a tournament over in Charleston. We won our own tournament, and then we won the Tennessee Hurling League. And I think some of that was due. We have a pretty fit team. We try to outlast teams from an endurance standpoint. And really just at that point, we had a nice kind of nucleus of probably 15, 20 players that were real committed. We weren't huge numbers, but we had a lot of cohesiveness, and it kind of showed in that year. I think we've had one tournament this year in Charlotte, North Carolina, who's been traditionally a Gaelic football club, has started playing hurling, and they came out with a really high level of play, and we only took third in that tournament. So we're trying to get this season, trying to get a number of new players integrated kind of into what we're doing, and that's a process that's ongoing, but
growing pains.
A little bit of growing pains going on now, but I think it's
pay off the long run.
Yeah, I think we've been kind of the standard has been set now. And we have something to kind of strive towards as far as our level of play on the field. And I think we sent probably 18 down to Greenville, and we had six folks that was their first tournament ever, first competition outside of kind of our own club. So it was a little rude awakening on some levels, but ultimately it was a great day, and we're excited to continue to kind of build on the momentum we've had the last 2 years. I mean, we went from getting destroyed to losing kind of close to winning some close games, and then that 19 we had a lot of success, but we're kind of back. Every year is a new team with new challenges, and we're excited to kind of continue to work and grow and have a lot of fun along the way as well.
Yeah, I love the way you said about endurance and stamina as you knock back beers and sit in front of bar tabs and in a brewery.
It's turbo loading.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Irish way of doing things. Yeah,
fun.
You need balance, and life balance here. So
yeah, that's you've got the perfect balance by the looks of it. Yeah, definitely. There's a couple of other questions, and then there's a little quick fire round at the end, which is kind of completely stupid round, and you'll see how stupid it is in a few minutes. But the other question I have to ask on a night out, is there a club karaoke song of choice?
That's all.
Finger pointed straight away.
I laugh because Greenville Afters, a couple of weekends ago, devolved into some karaoke, and so they coaxed me into singing, but I was only willing to do it if there was a Sublime What I Got. I don't know if you're familiar, but there's an American band from, I guess, the 90s called Sublime. And What I Got is the song that I'm willing to do. It's never pretty, but it's worth a good laugh at the very least. So.
Okay, I haven't heard of that song. That's usually
I'm have to look it up.
From 97 or 96.
Okay. Yeah, it's a Southern California kind of beach reggae tinged American song. So. You can look that up and culture, and be cultured a little bit there.
Something.
Yeah, that's going to be the background tune, I think, to the podcast.
There you go. Perfect.
Perfect.
I'll send you the video. I'm pretty sure it's on there.
Yeah, perfect. I got to check it out. What's it called? Sublime. What's the song called?
Sublime. What I Got.
Yeah, What I Got. Mm-hmm. Yeah, make sure you get the edited version.
Don't let the kids around.
Yeah, I'll see. It depends. Whichever version pops up first, I'll use. So, and then, what would you say is your toughest opponents you've ever come across?
What was that? Sorry.
The toughest team you've ever played against.
I would say, so Indianapolis has a club that's very well established. The last I heard, they had within their city league, they had 15 teams, 10 to 15 teams. And so a few years back, we played the Indianapolis A team. They were just kind of a junior A, and they were really good. To be honest, that Charlotte team we played the other day was one of the better teams we've competed against in a few years. They've had a lot of, they've played Gaelic for years and years. They're well established. And so they've making a quick transition into hurling, a rededication to playing hurling. And had a couple of Irish lads. I knew we were in trouble when they, within a minute of the match, they hit a long ball. It bounced off the ground. The guy, 180, one hand smacked it over the bar from like 40 yards away. I was like, oh, okay. So there we are, right?
Yeah.
So fair play. They've gotten good quickly. So Indy or Charlotte. And then when we first started out, Atlanta was kind of the standard in our division in hurling. They've since decided to focus on football, but early on, Atlanta team was our bar, and then those other two I mentioned are pretty strong.
I've had Kyle and David from Indy. They were on a few weeks ago with me, so yeah, their episode will be on just before yours as well. So you'll get to. I don't know. I can't remember if they mentioned you. That's why when you said Indy, I was like, did they mention Knoxville? I don't actually remember if they did or not. But
yeah, we've only played them once, and it's been probably 4 years ago. But I do think that's. Like I said, fair play to them because my understanding is they've been really American-led in what they're doing, and they've come a long ways. A lot of these clubs have started before us, so hopefully that's a trajectory we can be on as well. But they've done really some really cool things up there, and it's a standard that we can look to kind of strive for, and we appreciate. I just appreciate some of these clubs across the country that are really setting the standard and kind of pioneering some of the development here in America.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. Like you guys, and same as Indy, it's very American centered. The core, the 90% of the team is American. You're not just like 14 Irish guys and just said, okay, bring in an American guy. Let's make it look like we're some sort of, international team, but you're American to the core, basically.
I think the hurling to me is, I grew up playing basketball among other American sports, and I truly think hurling is the greatest sport in the world. And the fun thing about it for Americans is, and at least my experience, there's so many skills that you develop playing American sports that do translate into hurling. But then there's a whole nother skill set or set of skills that are new and fresh, and it kind of creates an exciting experience to have somewhat of a base, but then all these new things to develop. And the immediate gratification of that first time you put a ball over the bar, or the first time you get a good fair shoulder in. I mean, there's a nice combination of that grace and power, that skill and strength that we're somewhat familiar to, but also new ground that you can explore. And so we always say, if we can just get people out to try it, they're going to stick, because it's so fun. It's just a great experience. And so I truly think it's the next big thing in America. It's kind of growing slowly, but I think there's a little bit of an exponential growth. And you've seen lacrosse take off in America over the last 10 years, and I think hurling's kind of on a similar trajectory, in my opinion.
Yeah. Have you any plans to go football as well?
Not right now. Everybody, we're just mainly, I would say, only a couple of lads have some major soccer experience. That everybody's up, a few of us are up for, a third period of maybe some football if the other team wants to as well. But it's usually, we're playing Nashville quite a bit, Memphis, and then obviously those are kind of one-off games. And so if we can get a third period in of something like that, then that would be fine. But and definitely in the South, it's mostly hurling. I think Atlanta and Bluffton or something, South Carolina are the only two specific football only, and then everybody else is hurling mostly with maybe some football. So not right now, but I think we've got a football floating around somewhere. So if anybody wants to kick it around the training, we can do it. But
we definitely intentionally named our club Knoxville Gaelic Athletic Club to allow the room for growth there, versus a Knoxville Hurling Club or something.
No, shirts are hurling.
But I think we've chosen to kind of focus in on hurling, just to kind of develop that first, and then allow. We definitely want to get we have some women that play with us. We'd like to get a kind of a true camogie team going. That's one of our goals, and we've tossed around the idea of some youth development stuff over the next few years, and so there's always a discussion about Gaelic football, but I think right now it's kind of on the back burner as we continue to focus in and develop hurling and those others.
Yeah. Do you think, since you mentioned the schools, I know some clubs around the world have big youth-like setups. Are you competing against like NBA, NFL, and that kind of thing in the schools to get kids in?
Yeah, I would like, honestly, in our community, I'd like to develop hurling as an alternative to American football. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love watching American football. I played it a little bit as a kid, but I'm in orthopedic sports medicine, and the rate of injury, particularly head injuries, is high to a level that makes me personally a little uncomfortable encouraging my children to play that. Whereas I think hurling gives you a physical sport, but yet the injury prevalence is a little bit lower. So I'm not trying to replace American football, but I'd love for it to be an alternative option for families. And also, one of our core values as a club is just family. We want to treat our friends as family, but also we look at our players and their spouses and their children as a part of the club as much as our travel team is. So we think that a number of our members already have kids. We think it'd be a really fun kind of holistic experience if we could get some of the kids playing and training. So I do think there's probably room to kind of find our own niche within the schools. We haven't tried to break that ground yet. We're just kind of contemplating what that might look like. But I tend to think there's a desire for some alternative options that might suit some of our community.
Yeah, I know this is totally off the point, but just since you mentioned it, and since you're seeing a bit of an expert in it, like my mates are they're big NFL fans. Like my best mate's a big Seahawks fan. My cousin's a big Packers fan. I know, as I've said to a few American clubs, I know shit all about NFL. I follow the Broncos because it was the first stadium I landed at, and I just said, yeah, these guys will do. But like you've seen obviously studying it, you know a lot about the head injuries, and like I see Adam like beside you is a man, you know, of rugby stature, and in the news these days we've got like Steve Thompson from England and the other guys who are now, you know, putting in the claims as such for early onset dementia and stuff. Do you see much in the hurling side of anything ever coming of it like that, or are the injuries totally different?
Yeah, I would say like in our 5 or 6 years of existence, we've had probably 2 diagnosed concussions, and that's relatively low. I mean, the high school I work at, covering American sports, you'll probably have on average 3 to 5 concussions in a season, a year. You have kids having to kind of like, you know, we had a guy who went to college on a high level and had to kind of retire, if you will, at an early age because of multiple concussions. And so, I mean, the potential is there for a concussion in hurling, but I think with the way it's coded with some of the rules on shouldering, I think the main thing is there's no tackling, because when you're tackling and you're low in your head, you're getting helmet to helmet. Now you can get knocked to the ground, maybe hit your head on the ground in hurling, but the chances of a helmet to helmet or head to head are so significantly lower that I think it's a possibility, but it's more in line with maybe even a soccer, which there's occurrences in soccer, but it's just not on that. The prevalence is significantly lower than American football. And so I think in the long run, it's substantially less of a risk when it comes to head injuries and some of that CTE long term, because the CTE tends to be repetitive. Even these micro traumas, like if you're in the line for American football, every play you're not a high velocity, you're not running, but you do have these helmet to helmets almost every play, and they seem to correlate that kind of sustained micro trauma over time to some of the CTE. You just don't have that in Gaelic sports.
Yeah. Did you find yourself, Adam, I presume you must have been some sort of second row or number 8 surely in your rugby career, were you?
You know, funny thing, through university, I was open side, and so ran around a little bit, kind of learned what was going on, was always a forward, being 6'4", and didn't know what the hell the backs were doing the entire time. And then we, a couple years out of university and playing for the men's league, we decided we'd start some youth high school programs. And so I got my ref certificate. I was a level 1 ref, and then I was also a level 1 coach. And so I had to kind of know how to coach high schoolers and know what backs did. So anyway, next thing you know, I showed up to practice. I was faster than all the forwards and half of the backs. And they were like, okay, you're a wing now. I'm like, oh, okay. So within like the last 5 seasons I played, I started at every position. I played one season as a 6'4" scrum half.
Wow.
Because I started scrum half was injured, so I just took over. I'd walk up to the scrum to put it in, and the other guy, of course, is 5'7". He looks at me, he's like, "I think you're in the wrong spot, mate." I was like, "Nah, sorry." So hit him out of the way and move the ball around. So a lot of it gets down and dirty, especially those penalty plays when you're 5 meters out, and then scrums aren't so bad. They're just, that's just repetitive. That's horrible for the neck and the rest of the body. But when somebody's trying to put a try in from 5 meters out, those tackles and those hits are just rough. And that was one reason. I think it was early 2012. My son was born, and I was like, I'm not going to travel this season, but I'll still play some sevens. And so I played some more sevens and stuff. And I was just, I'm getting older and the body's falling apart, so I don't need to expedite this process. So it was, I don't want to get ran into by some giant 25-year-old who can run a 4.3 40. I don't want to be in the way. So so that led for me to figure out, and I'd been president of the club for years as well. So I was like, well, I'm helping out in some form or fashion behind the scenes. So that was more than enough for me.
Yeah. Who would be, just out of curiosity, who is your favorite rugby player or greatest of all time that you've come across?
Well, my son's name is Ronan, if that tells you anything. I'd say Raj, probably one of my favorites to watch. He was a fiery competitor, and could be a bit of a bastard, but he was clutch. He was clutch when you needed him, for sure. So I'd like to see him return from France and start coaching a provincial side. Maybe see if he can fit back in, get in with Munster, or see if at some point Andy Farrell will be out. Coaches last, 3 years, maybe 6. So I think he's definitely one that probably lead the Irish side at some point. So
okay, sounds cool. Yes, I would like to see him in charge as well. He's staying in France anyway for now because Donncha Ryan is going to be his coach next season alongside him at La Rochelle. So that'll be interesting. Yeah, and my next guest actually on the podcast, if you're listening at all next week, is Tomás O'Leary. So he's obviously he's an All Ireland Gaelic hurling winner with Cork, the last minor hurling captain for Cork in 2001. And obviously won the Grand Slam with Ireland in 2009. So yeah, it's you'll enjoy that one, I'd say, if it comes up. There's a bit of hurling and a bit of rugby as well. So
yeah,
you definitely enjoy that. Yeah. The last question I had before the quickfire ones. Nothing at all to do with GAA, but it's one I ask every club. Have you guys been introduced to the Irish institution that is Father Ted, the greatest TV show ever made?
I've seen one episode. My brother, I think, had binge watched all of it, and he was like, "You got to watch this." And so I put it on, and I have a serious aversion now to laugh tracks. So hearing laugh tracks kick in, I just totally freak out to 80s and 90s, and I can't deal with it. Yeah. He watches it all. He thinks it's the best. So
yeah.
My brother definitely is, and I've seen one. So, Ben, have you ever seen it?
I'm actually not familiar. This may be new ground I'll have to break here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, so I'm going to Google Sublime What I Got. Your job is to go looking up Father's Head.
Yes. Just don't surmise who I am by Sublime. It's,
He was kind of jumping on the grenade for that one. That was definitely the college, especially when I was there, late 90s theme song. It was always playing at every party. And if you could play guitar, you could usually work out the little riff in there too. So
I do play guitar, so I'm intrigued now to see what it comes out like. So,
give it a listen. You'll kind of wonder what the hell's going on.
It does have a nice little guitar riff. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm still looking at it's out there somewhere for the song that we can after a strong tournament showing, we can all come together and sing in the pub afterwards. I'm looking for that. It's out there somewhere. We haven't nailed it down. So soon enough, we'll have a club song. I'll get back to you on that one.
Yeah.
Our eyes so we can all cry.
If you really want to learn something, the Irish one, the Rattling Bog, is perhaps the most overplayed one, but it's also the one that a lot of clubs around the world seem to use because it just goes on forever. I don't know how many verses are actually in it. It could go on for about half an hour or so. They just get lost.
Check it out. So that and Bold Teddy Quill. As well.
You can try that one as well. Yeah, there's quite a few verses in that as well. So yeah, the quickfire ones then are obviously you guys are both Knoxville legends, and some of these questions are sort of mixture of Knoxville and Irish stuff. They're totally stupid questions, but you have a 50-50 choice in both of them, so you can choose between whichever you want. The first one then you can choose between actually, since you're both into Ireland, you might be familiar with this. You can choose between Tennessee's famous Mountain Dew, is that right? The drink, or Irish 7-Up as we drink in Ireland.
I guess I'll go with it's quick fire. So yeah, I have to go with Mountain Dew, even though I don't drink it anymore. My teeth thank me.
Okay,
I'm going 7-Up. That Mountain Dew is too sweet for me.
Okay, I'll take that. Country music or Irish music?
If you're talking traditional country music, like George Jones, okay, probably. Oh man, that's tough. Probably traditional country, just because I know a lot more of it. But I mean, traditional Irish is pretty dang good.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some outlaw mountain country that's coming up around the Appalachians here in America. I'll go with that. But I mean, it's all tied together. It's all inspired by Irish music. So I'll take the lineage of Irish music into country music here in the Appalachians.
Nice combination of the two. Yeah, I like that. You've got a ticket each. Do you go to the Super Bowl final, the NBA finals, or the All Ireland hurling final?
I'm going All Ireland.
I'm going All Ireland.
I would take NBA over the NFL, but All Ireland is a one-of-a-kind experience that I'm seeking.
Okay, I'll take that. Tennessee native Quentin Tarantino, or apparently, I don't know if this is true, Steven Spielberg. Apparently, he's also from Tennessee. Is that right?
I don't know. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, neither did I.
I know. Tarantino was born and lived until like age 3 in Knoxville.
Okay,
so that's why Knoxville gets a lot of mentions in the movie. So we'll talk about Knoxville time, or he'll fit something in, or somebody going back to Tennessee. I guess Tarantino. Reservoir Dogs is a classic. It's top 5 for me.
Yeah, Pulp Fiction was something else when I watched it, but I got to go Spielberg. I like a lot of his work, to be honest. It fits my preferences a little bit better.
Okay, like that one. The founder of Wendy's, apparently Dave Thomas, is from Tennessee. Or you can choose between the Irish favorite chip shop, Supermacs.
Well, I didn't have any Supermacs while I was over there, so I'll probably have to go to Wendy's on that one.
Okay. I'm torn because I know Supermacs is a big supporter of Galway.
It is, yeah.
It's hard to choose something you've never tasted as well. Wendy's chicken nuggets are unfortunately addictive to me, so I'm going to go Wendy's on that one.
Okay, we'll take that. There's two left. Tennessee native Randy Orton or Irish wrestling legend Sheamus?
I think both are past my time. I was definitely grew up on some WWF, as it were.
Yes, same as, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen Sheamus wrestle, so I guess I'll have to go Orton, just because I believe I've seen him do a few matches.
Yeah, I admittedly was not too drawn into the wrestling. I like the name Sheamus better, so I'm going to go there.
Okay, we'll take that. And which of these would win in a fight? Johnny Knoxville or Joe Canning?
Well, we're here in South Knoxville, where Johnny Knoxville's from, so I feel like I'll probably have to vote for him.
Okay. Some of the things I've seen Johnny Knoxville do are outright crazy, so I'm going with crazy over muscle there.
Yeah,
Johnny
but
Knoxville.
You've also seen Joe Canning catch a ball from 90 yards, turn in one movement, and bury it in the net in Croke Park. So,
yeah. Well,
that's just commonplace from what I understand.
Sounds like a win-win for me on either one there. So,
dare I ask what Johnny Knoxville is like? Have you encountered him in real life, or?
Never met him in real life. No, it seems pretty laid back. I mean, obviously up for stupidity, but seemed like he, just kind of has the acting career going now and not destroying himself on a regular basis.
Yeah, there was quite a while here in Ireland years ago. I know he was like nearly the most famous person in the world at one point because of Jackass, basically. And then everyone was like Johnny Knoxville, and it's only years later, probably when I wasn't a kid, that I realized that Johnny Knoxville is actually from Knoxville. So
yeah, his name's like PJ Rourke or something. His real name.
Fair enough.
Yeah, Johnny Knoxville works pretty well.
Yeah, okay. I wish I could say that Johnny Knoxville just frequented the pubs in town or something, but I've never known of him actually being in town. I mean, it may have happened.
Very rare.
I
think they shot one episode of Jackass in town.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. And you haven't tried to encourage him to play full forward yet, no?
We'll see. I know he's a few years older than me. Hell, he's in his 50s. I don't know if he's coming out. Plus, he's probably permanently damaged from shopping cart accidents, getting shot out of catapults and whatnot. So we'll see. There's an open invitation if he happens to see this. Look us up, Johnny. We're here. So
okay. I'll put this out. I'll put this out to Mr. Knoxville himself and see if he replies.
I won't.
Yeah, I won't hold my breath, to be honest. And then I know I've kind of asked this already, but last one then. If the Irish go to Knoxville, what's the one thing that we should do when we go there?
I'd say find your way down to what's called Market Square. I mentioned it earlier. It's kind of the heartbeat of the city, but you'll see somebody in a three-piece business suit, and you'll see somebody, a traveler who just hopped off a train, and everybody in between. And somehow it kind of works. So I think you start there and you just branch out.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah. Is there anybody you guys want to give a shout out to before I let you guys go?
I mean, I guess first off, the wife and family for allowing me to be a part of Knoxville Hurling and staying busy and doing that kind of stuff and doing the travel for sure. And all the support, all of our sponsors, Alliance, Jig and Reel, Clancy's, Knox Wire Harness. But just, thanks for everybody, all the teammates. And then also, thanks to the GAA for helping us out and keeping us afloat for the years. So we appreciate that. And I appreciate you also, giving us a chance to talk about an awesome sport and our club and giving us an opportunity to be highlighted. So thank you.
Yeah, not at all. Yeah, it's great having you guys on. Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'd echo all of that. And then I'd shout out my friend Colin and Philip that I met back in the day that kind of introduced me and really altered the trajectory of my whole life in some ways, finding hurling. So everything Adam said, and then those two lads in addition. And I appreciate you really really enjoyed being on. It's a great experience, and thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Not at
we're
all,
getting a little busy. People are filing in, so the brewery got a little loud, but yeah.
That's all right. That's okay. Yeah, but this will be going out probably in a couple of months because I said I'm doing kind of a lot of the recordings now, so I can edit them over the summer. But I'll keep in touch with you guys, and I'll let you know. It is probably going to be October, November, I'd say at this stage, because it's going to run into next February and March. So yeah, it kind of took off a little bit, but I'll keep in touch with you guys, and thanks so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to visit Knoxville, and hopefully I'll get there someday for real. So.
Cheers. Yeah, please. Yeah, keep in touch. You ever make it over here? Yeah, we'll
absolutely. Yeah,
we'll meet you downtown.
Brilliant. I can't wait. I'll see you in Market Square. So
that's right.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jason.
Thanks so much, guys. Take it easy. The best of luck.
Thanks.
Thank you. Good luck.
Coming up the next day on the Loaf of Bread GAA Global, we cut into our next slice.
I just contacted Niall out of pure chance just to see what Bangkok was like, and I sent him a message on Instagram, and he read it. He was out blind one night. He read it and forgot about it. My cousin Angus Clark was out travelling with Joey Boyle, and they bumped into Niall in Bangkok, and Angus said to him, I think David is thinking of coming out this part of the world. I said, I'm not sure if it's Bangkok. He hasn't his mind really made up, and Niall went, oh Jesus, I never replied to this man. So he got the background details. He's on about a CV. He searched mine top and thin, and then he replied and said, look, don't go any further than Bangkok. So me and Caitlin, literally, we were going to book our flights the following morning to Hanoi and travel there for a while, and then in the space of about 2 hours we were going to Bangkok. So.
I say a big thank you to Ben and Adam for taking us through the brewery and through Knoxville GAA. And coming up on Thursday next on the Loaf of Bread GAA podcast, on Slice 32, I fly from the state of Tennessee to the Southeast Asian wonder that is Thailand. And of course, who else did I meet but two former county players from Offaly and Wexford. Niall Geraghty and David Dude McCormack bring me through the crack in Thailand GAA and beyond. We chat all about the rivalries with Asian countries like Singapore, Myanmar and others, the Asian Games, teaching in Thailand, keeping up with the GAA back in their clubs in Rosemount and Durrow, the Father Ted pub in Thailand, and of course answering some of the vital questions like the Thai Islands or the Aran Islands, a good temple or a good mass, and the giant golden Buddha statue or the great Alan Buddha Mangan of Westmeath. That's next Thursday morning from 9 AM as I continue the journey with 2 slices a week. I'll see you at the arrivals hall, but until then, check out the various clubs on the Instagram page and see all the amazing work they do and some of the nicest GAA gear going. Find the podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter and on TikTok. Email loafofbreadpod@gmail.com or just simply hit the follow button and spread the word of the Loaf of Bread GAA pod across the globe. Slánagi.